Hey everybody, thank you for purchasing the $3 steak. So, in this video, I'm going to talk about Lopez versus Lopez seasons 1 and 2. I previously recorded a season 1 review. However, given that I've seen season 2 and never got around to uploading and editing that particular recording, I figured it's just better to kind of do a little double feature and review both seasons, in the same video. So let's begin with season 1. So I actually thought it was really good. The basic plot of it is George, who is a deadbeat father who cheated on his wife and abandoned his family, ended up coming back into his daughter and his ex-wife's lives. And I thought that was a very interesting storyline that they went with. Right off the bat, one of the things I noticed is, the show, it tried a little too hard to be, self-aware in a way about the generational differences between people that are Mayan's age and people that are George's age. And I think they played on that a little too much throughout the season. It didn't take away from the show itself. I think that a lot of the writing was still pretty good, especially for the first season. I thought there were some really solid episodes, like when George was throwing a birthday party for Chance, who is the son of Mayan. And I found that episode to be pretty good. Without spoiling too much, I want to get into the family really quickly. So, as we mentioned, there's George. And as I've mentioned, he takes on the role of, a deadbeat father and an ex-husband, unfaithful, who runs his own furniture moving business, And so that's one of those things. Like I said, I think they tried a little too hard in the beginning to really kind of hit you over the head with, the generational jokes and the stuff like that. Like, for example, right off the bat, the first episode was Mayan was twerking for her TikTok audience, and she used George as an excuse, which is a very recurring theme throughout the season, right? Where she just blames him for all of her issues. And I get that that's the point, but, for Mayan, the character, to be doing that, it's very different from Mayan for the rest of season 1 and season 2 for that matter, because we never really see the side to her besides that one scene. So I just found that interesting. So getting into the rest of the family, so there was Mayan, who's the daughter of George Lopez. At this point in time, she was studying to be a veterinarian. Then we have her boyfriend, Quentin, who they are not married, which does become a topic later on. It does get touched on throughout the series. And in season 2, like, you do end up finding out why it is, they don't get married. They haven't gotten married. So, not going to spoil that. Chance, or Gordo, is their son. He was pretty funny throughout the show. George has a friend, much like in the George Lopez show, he had Ernie. He has this other friend, and there's another recurring character known as Momo as well, who also goes in, but he's less frequent. Then we have Rosie, who is George's ex-wife. couple things about her. She can be a bit narcissistic, but she has a good heart. I think a lot of it's funny. So that's pretty much, everything you need to know as far as the family goes. There are some interesting topics, being discussed in this episode, in this season, in the first season, such as anxiety. I thought, that was a really strong episode as far as anxiety goes, with George, of course, not believing in anxiety right away, but later begins to, realize that it is real, and he starts to understand it a bit. There was another episode where him and his ex-wife go to Corte Caliente. I thought that was a really solid episode. There was another episode about forgiveness, where he has to forgive his grandmother for beating him all those times when he was a child. For how he was mistreated. But that was a really strong episode as well. And it finally ends with a really strong season finale about alcoholism. And I thought the writing was so well done. And I mean very well done. In particular to the season finale. Because while the rest of the season was good, if I had to give it a rating, like on a scale of 1 to 10, I would give it a 7, whereas the season finale would be a 10 in my opinion. Overall, like, I really enjoyed how they wrote this episode out. I enjoyed what the conclusion they came to. It had the investment, the heartfelt speeches. They were very touching. And I thought, I thought that it would be very interesting to see what season 2 brings. So yeah, season 1 was very strong in my opinion. With that being said, let's get into season 2. So one thing I will say about season 2 is the writing is overall improved. I thought, they eased up on the generational stuff, trying to be a little, they didn't try to be as topical, whereas they focused more on the plots, which is good. I prefer that a little bit, although they did still sprinkle in some elements of the first season, and I mean, hey, that's totally okay, but I'm glad to see that they made, vast improvements and changes, and I thought it was really good. They had some really strong episodes, such as episodes about making amends and taking accountability. A lot of this season revolved around George's recovery from alcoholism. And I thought that was okay to have like a season-long storyline like that, and I'm glad it wasn't the focal point of the entire season, but it does play a role in most of the episodes. I think, the episode with Danny Trejo was really good. I think another episode where George's was apologizing to everyone and making amends. I thought that was a really good episode, and I'll make a video on that later on, because I do have some thoughts on that particular episode. I thought it was really good. The last 4 episodes, I would say, led to a pretty strong season finale. But the last 4, revolve around George, finding out he still has feelings for his ex-wife, spoiler alert, I'm sorry. And I thought the way that played out was, I thought it was really well handled. I love the storytelling in this, and it led to a really good resolution in the season finale. And I thought, after watching it, I found myself really enjoying it. The season finale being about marriage and, Mayan having her reservations about marriage, and Quentin, it being revealed, again, spoiler alert, but it being revealed that, Quentin wants to marry Mayan and has wanted to marry Mayan for the longest time, but she hasn't wanted to because she's been traumatized by what her dad did to her all those years back. You know, she was worried that marriage is just going to end up ruining her. But we later find out what goes on there. You know, I would strongly recommend, you know, for those who haven't seen it, to see it. You know, it's a really good episode. So overall, I'm going to say Lopez versus Lopez seasons 1 and 2 are solid. I really enjoyed it. I think if I had to put it on a grading scale, I would probably put season 1 at a C and season 2 on a B+. I think both are really good. Both are good. Season 1 is pretty good. But season 2, you know, is just leaps and bounds improved. And it makes me curious to see how season 3 goes. You know, I hear that it's premiering in a couple of days. So that's something for me to look forward to. And I can't wait to watch it. So yeah, that's going to be the review, everybody. Thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in. Take care and have a wonderful day.